How are you guys? It's nice to see you again. We are back. It's Off the Record podcast. Yes, today we've hosted our very own president, Mr. Panganai, with my brother Chanyaratswa, and our director, Mr. Bekingos, is behind the cameras. So, we're glad to see you again. Yeah, it's very nice. So, Mr. Panganai, how are you? I'm good, bro. I'm very fine. Mr. Tanya, how's
You
everything?
now you're closing nice.
Wonderful. So, guys, we have something today. So, our president is going to introduce himself better. He's going to tell us about himself. Amen. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's going to tell us.
Okay. Okay. So the introduction is quite simple. Right? My name, of course, is Tinda Panganai. And I would say more about me, but then I think you can start by the name, right? Then the others can deduct from the conversation. So yes.
Wonderful. Mr. Kates,
Yes, Baba.
yeah, I can say something, my brother.
All I can say is I'm very happy. We are big on sick. We are very sorry for the
AKA Nkomana.
we are very sorry for the ignorance or for the delays. Because I think everyone was busy. Our director was not in town. He had gone for a vacation.
Paid leave.
Yes. So he left the cameras no me. So we couldn't do anything. But anyway, we are back. And I think it's quite an honor to be sitting with our very own president. He says there's a lot to tell us, but also there's a lot to ask him. So, my brother, what are we going to do today?
I didn't come again.
I said, what are we going to do today?
Okay. I just want to know how did he become the president of the Student Association, Faith University? Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. So for every action, there's a necessity to iterate. So for every development, there are conditions that will have necessity for such a development. Take for example, MVN University. It is a university that is newly welcoming Africans. It is a premises. I think it is the first stream in the past 3 years. So it is relatively new in terms of welcoming Africans. It's premises. But then now that the Africans are there, we are now blending into the Indian culture. They are trying by their own capability to embrace us. But then it is in that period of trying to enhance the cultural cohesion and interaction that certain challenges come up. Right? The challenges of integration, challenges of expression, challenges of representation. So sometimes there's a need for us, even as Africans, to be able to come together to see that we are facing a common challenge, right? You, the other person, and the person in the next, we're facing challenges. So what do we do? The best way, of course, to tap a common challenge is to come together and have something that brings us together so that we can attack the problem that will be attained more effectively. Because as the saying goes, united we stand, divided we fall. Okay. So it was part of that process of trying to come up with such a thing. In this case, it was the African Student Association, an association that tries to embrace all Africans in terms of we have Africans from at least, I think, 6 countries, 6 or 5 countries. So it is a body that is there to make sure that we are all united under the banner of African students. And then all the challenges, all the interesting things that we want to do together. So I think my journey is spun from there. It is by being coming to being of that organization that I was selected to being president. That's become.
okay, Mr. President. What uh what powerful words to say. Are you just saying of challenges? Well, I think I might be jumping in too fast, but I think essentially the challenges with the girls, I think we're facing challenges. We had the school saying that some of the locals went to complain after, I think it was nearly 2 days after they chased some girls out of the hostel. And recently they wanted them back. So I wanted to know, because I think we saw a lot of quarrel within the parents group, within the, I think you didn't have much to say on the issue. And also I think the Dolphins, which is the program that got us here, they didn't also have much to say. They were saying they were also in shock. But as for you, what did you do to, I think, to make life easier for the girls? Since I think the school said that no girls going to go out.
Yeah, that is actually quite a situation. There's a contradiction in terms of the school policies. As you said that at one point they were told that they should leave hostels. And then it's another instance, it is an instance, they will say that no one should out of the campus. Everyone should come inside the campus. So I would try to phrase that as a unilateral decision that was done by the school. We, at the point of reception of that message, we didn't have much information or rather much engagement from the school itself to tell us how they've come to that conclusion, what were the reasons that have led to that decision, and what other decisions would have been there that would have implemented instead. So indeed, it came as a shock. They said it was a unilateral decision that was made by the school. And it is quite a blow even to the student association itself. Because what we would wish is that we become the first conduct of engagement with the university before they implement policies. There should be dialogue before decision making. So it also came as a shock to us that we've been striving for engagement, but then the school is seeming to override that kind of engagement part way. They're choosing to just impose policies without engaging the students. And they also said that the river people also in shock. So it is a blow to the student council, and I would really wish that in the future that such a thing also be addressed after consulting maybe the stakeholders that are in place. Because at the end of the day, the parents end up being confused, the students themselves end up being confused. In some cases, someone would have paid rent outside for a month. Imagine that you have paid the rent for a month. In the first week, we are told that off campus is now off limits. So it was a mishap from the school's point of view. That is totally something that is unacceptable. And we stand against it, I would say that.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think also, don't you think that I think there's a very much big gap between the school and African Student Association that you are leading? Don't you think there's a gap? Because it can't be that the school just says out of nowhere, whilst we as the students think this kind of message should pass through you guys. Obviously, we do a team with you guys so that before it comes to us or before it comes to anyone who might be affected, you try to mitigate any dangers or try to mitigate any faults that might arise.
Yeah, that is true. That is certainly correct. That is the party that we wish to have been followed. As I said, this is a relatively new idea to them because I didn't think that, I don't think as I said in the beginning, this was the first instance in which such an association is implemented in the school. Okay? So it is something that is in the beginning. Of course, in the beginning, face challenges, and these are one of the challenges that the school is takes time to adjust to ways the ignorance of acknowledging present and the effectiveness of the student council. So it is indeed part of the challenges that we're facing, right? We are trying to introduce something that helps students, but then along the way, there are hurdles. And part of the hurdles are that the school is quite ignorant in terms of acknowledging our presence. It's taking time from their side. They're stalling the process of formally acknowledging that there's a student council in the school. So it is because of such instances of ignorance in the school that we face challenges of misunderstandings, challenges of confusion in terms of receiving information. And at the end of the day, it is the student that suffer. Was the registrar or the school official that makes the decision. They will just release the letter, then they'll be at their home. But then it's the student that is outside the campus that has paid the rent that will suffer the consequences.
Okay, so what are the plans that you are taking to mitigate this issue? of the gap, or to bridge the gap between you guys, the student, that's the African Student Association, with the school. What are your plans to, I think, to strengthen your connection? If you can tell us more on that.
Okay, okay. So one of the things also, I think one of the fundamental things in terms of us driving that point in school is that the need also for the students to have that sense of unity amongst ourselves. Because as I said earlier in my first statement, that united we stand divided we fall. If we as the students ourselves are on in each other's throat, if we have factions among ourselves, we are always fighting, that kind of striving towards that kind of goal would rise. So one of the first things that I would say that is to encourage, and as I keep on doing, encouraging people so that we stand together as students, we have one goal. There is no struggles between ourselves. And then in terms of engaging with the schools, I think some letters, although they are pending replies to the administration, have been sent in regards to the same issue of acknowledgement from the university. For earlier on, we've been advised the process. We went to the registrar earlier on with the same issue of them formally acknowledging the president through a formal letter. They directed us that the process should go through the international office, of which in this case, they're referring to the officials of the DOFA. So that was the first way. We tried that way. Unfortunately, the results have not been fruitful as of yet. We tried the second way of keep on pestering them in their office, and that is also yet to bear fruit. And the third way, which is engagement with the embassy, I think that way is underway. Much details on that one. I think.
So you're saying you haven't yet engaged with the embassy as an African Student Association?
No, the embassy we've been engaging, but then the issue now is not only on engagement with the embassy. The issue now is formalizing the structure that exists. With the embassy, of course, engagement is there, but then the issue of putting the existence into practice, formalizing the existence of the council, was the formal acknowledgement is the one that also includes us in the letters that the school is publishing. They will also be acknowledging us in the formal letters that they send to the parents of even the students. Okay.
That's nice. Mr. Nyango, do you have anything else?
I said everything I wanted to ask about. So, are there any achievements that we have made as the Students' Council, as for years of now, from the way we're selected to be the lead?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. So, first of all, I would like to classify the achievement maybe in two categories. Okay. The other one are the things that are not tangible. For example, the issue of perspective. We came here with no such existing. So I think one of the first things that people now have the perspective or the elected perspective, or knowing that is something as a student representation and something as the students coming together and conveying their thought is now possible. So that's one of the achievements of giving people having the belief and the hope that they can do anything they want to do, of course, good thing they want to do, if they come together under the banner of unity, under Africa. And also, I think one of the things also, I think, is the issue of events, although that one is something that continues to be worked on. But I think if you saw our Instagram page, we did I think the first time that we had the independence celebration, there was a lot of activities that were there. If you look at our Instagram page, I think the magnitude of that celebration also signifies that at least there are people that are doing something. We try to do sport galas, of course, with partnerships. But then, yeah, I think that's one of the things also. And also, there have been issues in the girls' hostel for quite some time. There have been issues about the gate passes. But then the issue about the girls also is that it is something that is a recurring problem. Like problem shift was the past, there was problem of passes. I think that one was fixed to some extent. It was the problem of freshers moving on to other parts of the hostel, although they are yet to fix on the issue of rooms. But then right now, I think also the issue of campus on campus is also a problem because hostel, I heard there's an issue of hygiene. So there's some issues that keep on that needs constant engagement in terms of resolving them. And I think just the need of diligence and presence in the structure of them knowing that if you follow the structure, maybe we'll achieve something of this. Yes.
Wonderful.
Okay. On the same spot, I would like to ask if I think obviously you have superiors above you,
That is
whom you answer to, besides all of obviously being chosen by us, you have to answer to someone else. What are they trying to do so that you have the power as the African Student Association? What are they trying to do? Because obviously, I think lately, I think it's almost a year since you were selected.
that's
I think by now the school should be acknowledging you, which is somehow, let's say, maybe a loophole that was overlooked. Then also, I don't know, before I ask another question, I guess you should answer the first one first. If I keep on pumping these questions,
yeah, that is a good question. So I think we also ought to address maybe elephant in the room, if I may
Okay.
say. So what also we need to acknowledge is that this organization was implemented in amidst an existing system.
okay.
Right, the school was a system that was also in existence upon the inception of the organization, and I think it also it wouldn't be a stage of the imagination of thought also to know that we are engaging ourselves in a system that's already there. A system, to my understanding, that also believed that it could function without of course the council. Because the council was the idea of the students, right? The school didn't say we should create such a council, meaning that from their own point of view, they thought that they could function without the council, right? So we're introducing, if I have to put it into context, we're introducing an autonomous organization that is saying, no, we want the flow of information to be done in such a way that it first passes through the student leadership. And also to convince the people that are there in offices, of course, you're a student, you're trying to convince such people. And in most cases, or in some cases, in some cases, I would say, they won't have that willing to listen to what you have to say, just because maybe it's that dynamic of students, maybe an office in a faculty member of the council of the
But I thought
school.
before the student council was formed, I thought in the offer was supposed to talk with the school first.
Yes.
Because yes, it's a good point they started a students association, which is good, is per se. But obviously, seeing the challenges, I think we need to restructure. Because lately, if we are to say, the students have less faith in the association. Meaning, if you are trying to do something, now the students are there clashing you, and it won't seem as you are unified. The school will be saying, the student council is saying this, but these ones are saying that. Well, I think that the student council should be the mouthpiece for the students.
That's correct.
Each and every problem should be ahead. I think also I think within your board, there are certain people who should be communicating with the students,
That's correct.
which means seeing the chaos that's happening shows that those certain people are not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that is indeed a fair point.
Yes, which is going to lead. I think lately I've seen I think soon, if I'm not mistaken, there will be a ballot for another association which will be linked to the embassy.
Yes.
Which might be good, but I think also you should be in coalition with them so that at least you try to understand each other from a point of view as a student.
Yeah, that is indeed a point. You point out the issue of some members of the council being not delivering up to what they should. That is indeed correct. I acknowledge that such thing exists, that we have members among the council for that even by now I think they are known to the majority of people that are in the EC. That is indeed unfortunate. That is indeed unfortunate because we would wish that as an organization that is the starting organization, of course, we should have that kind of maximum engagement with students so that they also acknowledge the present council. So indeed, there are elements within the council that are not delivering to their capability. And I think even students are aware of that. That is indeed correct and unfortunate. I would refuse that. That is something that I will acknowledge even from my own experiences. So I will know what will be the problem. Is it really they are incompetent, or is that something that they are faced with the positions? But I think in between those two reasons, they also need to be the person himself at least trying to be known, like, because it doesn't need to just go in the group and saying, guys, my department is this. No, because actually, is the point actually that comes to my mind actually is that a person may have an important issue to address. They may have a challenge. They may have a suggested aid. But then the person that they only know is the president. Right? That is the issue. They may have a challenge about welfare, but then the only person that they know is the president. They may have challenge about sports, but then the only person they know is the president. They may have challenge about academics, but the only person they know is the president. So at the end of the day, you see that 20 people, instead of following the structure of saying we have the welfare director, we have the academic affairs director, they only know the president. Right?
Yeah, sure.
So that kind of following also that structure so that the complaints or the challenges are addressed more clearly is skipped. We end up having a jumbling of challenges and we end up going nowhere. So it is also part of the consequence of such members not being known. That right now we're having someone raise a challenge and then that challenge end up being resolved because it will have skipped that part of the process of saying first goes to the director, then he gets the solicitor to the president. So it is indeed a structural issue. However, I might say that I would also like also to say that on this thing, I would prefer that my goal or what my preference is that we as the students, we see that we're having a problem with the structure that is in the system. Because at the end of the day, this is the structure of the student. So when the students are clear that there's an error in the structure, what we do is that we don't say, no, there's no error in the structure and blame each other. No, we say, yeah, there's an error in the structure, that is true. So what is to be done? What is the way forward? What is to be adjusted? So at the end of the day, we're representing the student, and the student are the one that will also believe in the time. We're representing the interest of the student. So it wouldn't make sense for us to ignore the concern of the student. So when the student says there's a loophole in this kind of department, this should be done. I think that's a concern that also ought to be acknowledged. So that's the way we move forward. We make adjustments, we move forward, we retreat, we re-strategize, move forward. That is the way forward.
Yeah, that comes with proper communication. Because
That
if
is
there's no
true.
communication, we won't quarreling. So
That is
we need to communicate, then we must unify the applicants.
Yeah, that is
Because
true.
if there's no unit, it will be disaster,
Yeah.
distraction.
Was also the concept of unity is very important in the sense that, as I said, that you may find that in the structure there's this loophole. So also the concept of unity comes in addressing that loophole. When you see that, let's take for example, just for example, not to say it is a fact. Let's say there's an example in the department of warfare. We're seeing that in our hostels, our warfare is not being acknowledged, or our issues are not being addressed. We look for the welfare director. We have no idea of the welfare director. And the welfare director also, they've not made their presence being known. So the concept of unity comes in how you address that kind of thing. Do you go around telling everyone that the whole thing is useless teaching, or you acknowledge in such a way that you can make progress? Because what I want to do is that if the welfare department is not doing what's supposed to, it should be held accountable to that. They should be able to answer to why they are not delivering. If they're incapable of delivering, the students are always there because it is a cause of the student. So when a student is not able to deliver what they are to deliver, we can also find a replacement to deliver. So I think that concept of unity of saying we should do this thing, this is our thing, let's work together and make sure that it works.
So then you have to share the burden, not to give the burden to one person.
Yeah, because as I said, one thing that we cannot afford is factionalism. This is not politics in Zimwe, we have the opposition and the ruling party. I think that also kind of mentality also works against us. We cannot live in a state and say we students ourselves are divided according to these lines. No, that will also work against us because when a problem comes, when we need to stand together, we won't be able to do that. Because we're divided in those things. So but say I ask amongst ourselves, let's hold ourselves accountable. If this person or this person is not being performative to what we ought, that person to do what that person is to do. They come together and say, "Oh, so what's the way forward? The way forward, we do that in a better way, other than that shouting in exchange words. Because if you shout in exchange words, at the end of the day, you go home and then you sleep, nothing left in my phone.
Yeah, well, thank you for the updates. But I think as we conclude this issue of the African Student Association, I think it's quite good that we acknowledge what they have done. But I think if you do, what can I say, do meetups, well, I think it's very rare for the African Student Association to meet up with the students. I think you haven't done that yet. To an extent where you come with the whole board, you call the students, you sit, you talk, you hear them out, as they say. Not to say when a problem comes, then you should try to talk.
Yeah.
You should talk before even a problem what comes out.
Yes.
So I think let's loosen up a bit. We have been too formal. Let's loosen up a bit. How were the holidays, guys?
Ndatonzwa tina tachara 3 mawedzi chete.
How were the
Guys,
holidays?
as for me, I was listening to what you were saying because there are a lot of things which need to be adjusted.
That is true.
Because sometimes, yes, we may blame the president or the board, but as for us, we need to do something. We have to cooperate. If I say, guys, let's meet, you have to come and meet. You see. But if you don't come, we'll be saying what you want.
I think
Yeah.
we are
So-
for the association better. I think for now we
Yeah, for now.
Tombo kurukura.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's tell us what you do for the holidays.
We're doing internships.
For the holidays.
Yeah.
We saw your pictures. Chama hizi hapa kona so.
Yes,
Mune mabedzi.
yes, yeah, we were doing we went for work. Yeah, we're working.
Which week now?
No.
You're the commercial people who
But atikuna ma achievements amakaita after work also.
Achievements.
yeah.
Amuno property.
Kana zvose rinokwira pari chizoro
Atikuna ma assets also.
aiwa masets ona kuti we owe preferences,
Okay.
you see. Handisi kuti ana masets
Whatever you say or do will be used against you.
In the court of law.
But when the time is right,
Uh-huh.
tichangoita masinotese fambi, you see. Because haisi kumhanya paita pressure ndozva something chinozokukosta zvakanyanyisa kuti
Hanzi president wasione motorcade.
So
So, Mr. President, what were you doing? When you say about holiday, I'm going to office at least.
Well,
Yeah.
first of all, I tried to get some best, although that was almost impossible, but I tried getting some best, and also I did quite a bit of travel, seeing this, seeing India. So
Alone or with the first lady.
this was a solo travel. It was a solo travel, right?
It's good. Mr. Big,
Yes.
my file where I've seen.
Tashanda, we were working. We had the mines.
How my mind?
Yeah, tandru my mind.
Mr. Time,
Yes.
what from the second?
You was moving, you was shifting.
Now I was cruising, but that place could you know some on my message like it's like
He forgot he left a family behind.
I guess 15.
Yeah, it's like you have to enjoy. We're still young to be cheap. What can I say? We're still young to but she sorry, life moves away. You find new opportunities.
Chiri nyaya yeholiday kana kuti pane nyaya yamuadress.
Sha, like yeah. How basic. Yeah, my business is that they take like one door.
Okay,
Saka
okay.
you have to ngotoraramo semunhu ngasitorinoo dzakanazvo uri kutogoa dai zvaitokwanisa wadana atombotana gofa vamwe zvaitomboitawo. But it's very sad kuti we had some of the graduates vakafa or something.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. Was a head that I think he did the 5 years in India. And then when he was just celebrating the move to see, the unfortunate happens. That's why you have to enjoy life. You never know.
But
That's
enjoy
it.
life.
Very
I think now you have to enjoy it.
I must be mindful whenever you enjoy it.
Yeah,
I
you-
must be mindful.
Yeah,
You
true.
should also know the kind of enjoyment. When some enjoyment, you also shorten your lifespan. So you have to enjoy in such a way that you also get to live another day.
Yeah, sure.
So, Mr. President, I'm doing my party. I'm going to party for my
Welcoming the freshers.
People come on my fresh
You might come and say, I'm Mr. President. Welcome to school. Let's enjoy. Let me show you around campus.
Anything here besides freshers party, ever fight you. Something.
So that we can meet and greet and get to know each other.
Yeah, vanofanira kusangana vachitaura. My events, I think people is plenty of suggestions in terms of they want sports, they want maybe arts. So it's just a matter of reflecting the suggestions of the people. What one waruda then we try our best to deliver rational power.
So are you hosting another EPA or Zakatovara?
Well, I think events that are similar to that can be hosted.
Okay.
Although it won't be under the banner of EPO, but I think events of sporting, we can also try to increase the number of sports. Because I heard also we have the chess club, and it is a club that, to my knowledge, is not been going to any formal tournament. So we try also to embrace such kind of sports, new sports that have more recognition as of now. So our goal is to make sure that everyone in this also to engage in something. Because I also heard that there are people that are also doing dancing or what. Okay, people that are also good in modeling. So we also want an event in which
we
we
are
have such
models.
events that are
Now we
that don't
we are
include
good in
hip-hop.
modeling.
Guys, ndakanzwa kazve we heard about cheerleaders. Vakazoita sei cheerleaders. What happened to our cheerleaders?
It's a work in progress.
Till now.
It's just that with my sports angakamboitwa post also. But
Okay.
when the season starts, the cheerleaders will be there.
Because I didn't share that one. Mascot.
Do you want to be a mascot?
Wants to be a mascot.
With this way, I don't want to offend her.
Anything to say, Mr.
Mascot.
I ain't chatting about it.
Yeah, oh no problem.
We have hosted the president today. It's quite an honor. So I had a father.
And you guys.
I had a father. So
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to our next segment of Western Perspective. Over to you, Mr. Chinashi.
thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity. So yeah, we are now diving into Western perspective. So I have a question, guys. Why Africa is poor? Why
Why
is it
An-
Africa is poor?
I'll give the step.
Oh yeah, that's a very good question. Although it is a broad question, because Africa is I think 54 countries. But I think on average, of course, Africa is the poorest continent, right?
And the
So
most prayerful.
I highly object. India is very prayerful.
yeah, some people also raise the same point. Because the most prayerful continent, how come we are poor? Right? So it is also a genuine question. So I think yeah, most countries in Africa are poor in some living below poverty, like if countries such as Congo, Somalia, some areas of Nigeria that are always at war, even Mozambique. So it begs the question that with Africa, with Europe, with Australia, with Asia, how is it that at this stage in time, Africa is the poorest of those nations? So yeah, most people will say that I'll start by maybe addressing the common assumptions that people have. So when you ask maybe a random person why Africa is poor, they point up to things such as colonization, they point out to things such as slavery. And of course, yeah, they have their contributions in terms of setting Africa backward. But then if you were to take colonization, right, we're saying Africa has been colonized by Britain, right? But then it is poor, that's the reason. Someone may also give you an example for that. America was colonized by Britain. How come it is not poor? Britain was colonized by Britain. How come it is not poor? Right? So that is when the argument of colonization tends to take a hit. You can mention countries that are poor, that were colonized. They right now they are doing very well. Then it also comes the same thing with the slavery. That, of course, slavery set us back. But then now that there's no slavery, now that there's no colonization, what other thing can also be the reasons? Yes.
Okay,
What
but
also-
as for colonialism,
Yes.
Yes,
that one.
Yes.
As I see that time, those people what can I say?
They're building.
No, they're not building.
They're building. But
No.
Look
They're
at
not
Zimbabwe.
building. Because
most of the
we split
buildings-
it. We
most
split.
of the
No.
buildings now, but
We can't say we can't say if you build this home we are united. We're not united. So we get split it
okay.
into groups, in some ethnic groups. So it's for them to benefit.
Mm.
What's the rather than building some good structure.
Mm. But we have to really go back to the colonial era, or we have to, let's say, after the colonization, what did our countries do?
Yeah,
Right.
also before I think
Yeah.
on the point I think they said to say of splitting, right? If you take for example Rwanda, I don't know if you heard about the Rwandan genocide. Right? So historically Rwanda was colonized by Belgium. So what happens is Rwanda is two ethnic groups, if you notice the Tutsis, right? So what the Belgians do when they went into Rwanda, they first educated the Tutsis, which was the minority, and then they suppressed the education rights of the Tutsis. So when the Rwandans were stated from the Belgian was stated from Rwanda, what followed up from it was I think it was 1996. There was a civil war, which later turned out to be a genocide, and about 100,000 people, or even more, died in that conflict. So, in the point of them, in them, I'm referring to the European power that colonized Africa. Of course, for them to control, they did what you call divide and conquer. They divided us. They divided the Rwandans in this case according to ethnic line, so that the Rwandans themselves won't be against the invaders, but will be busy fighting each other. That they will come to resolve that
Common
issue.
sense,
And but also, I think yeah, there's Rwanda also. But if you take also Zimbabwe, right? Zimbabwe wouldn't say that we were pitted against each other that much. So of course it had an effect, right? Rwanda suffered the most in terms of division according to like. But then if you look at Rwanda right now, I think it is doing quite well, given that the genocide happened about I think 30 years ago. But it is one of the first developing economies in Africa.
Yes, I think that's what we have to do. Yes. You asked the question, why is Africa?
Why is
why-
Africa poor?
Yeah, but we have other countries like DRS. I hope people saw those videos that were published in recent, in general, so where people were killed by those people using machetes.
Mm.
You see, so that conflict will never end. You see, because the other groups are suffering, and in those countries like that, they are one of the poorest in Africa.
Yes.
Okay.
You see, so right, I can say they are the first elected prime minister of Jarazi was Lumumba. Patrice Lumumba. He was killed. You see, so after his death, people got split. You see, so as for them to get united now,
Uh-huh.
it's now hard.
Mhm.
You see, because those guys they knew if we leave this man, they are going to produce something better. You see,
Mhm.
so for them to gain maximum control over Africa, they have to split you first,
Mhm.
so that they can come and
But-
control you indirectly.
Tinash, are you seeing what you're doing? You're getting us back. We want to answer the
Ow!
question now.
See, my
Instead
brother.
of now.
Yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. Like, see, if you see what is happening in South Africa right now,
Mm.
you see, those things, those guys, they know what is happening. So, they want to control that one, the whole Africa. As for them to control you, to gain control of you, you have to split first.
Okay, so you're saying that the reason why Africa is poor is because they are splitting us.
Yes,
That's the first reason. you're
that's
saying.
the reason.
Okay.
Because you can't get united, like, that guy Muammar Gaddafi.
Uh-huh.
His main focus was to create Africa.
Uh-huh.
In fact, it must be one country,
Uh-huh.
but it should have states. You see, for them to do so,
Uh-huh.
you must get united first. But if there's no unit,
Mm.
you can't progress. We never
I don't
ever
think,
progress.
the issue of monopoly also comes in,
Yeah,
whereby I think instead of us if you see all the Patrick Lumumba, all the Joshua Maponga, with all those people, they are trying to unite Africa. They're pushing narrative to unite Africa. In them pushing narrative, they're stating the loopholes of the Western people. Now that we're dwelling on why Africa is poor, I think if you say the split issue, it comes into it. But lately, I think because of education,
Right,
one
yeah.
needs to vote on
Yeah,
Yeah,
education.
also, if I'm also, I think you are raising a good thing, right? That previously, back then, before colonialism, we said that the Africans are splitting us according to these lines.
Mm.
And we were not aware of that, right? But then right now, even a 6-year-old can get in the YouTube. Although I'm not sure if they will understand, but then they will get access to the perspective of history and understand that no, this person that I'm told to hate is more so a brother or something. So right now we the young generation, even the present adult generation, are aware that this is what the imperialists, if I may say, are trying to do. So right now we have that knowledge of knowing this is what they're trying to do.
Okay.
So I think his question is now that we know what else is there that is limiting us from prosperity. And also, if I may answer that, if I might try to answer that, I think for us to look at, say, why Africa is poor, we also need to look at the countries that have developed and ask the question, why have they developed?
And
So, and how? Yeah, I think that's the starting point. Because you look at America, you look at Europe, we look at Australia, we look at some parts of Asia, right?
Even South Africa.
Even South Africa, right?
Yeah.
We're saying that they developed. But then what were the things that make them develop? I think that is the starting point.
Right.
And then those things that made them develop, are they present in Africa also to make Africa develop? I
Yes,
think
so South Africa, guys. South Africa was run by the Boers. You see, they come from Netherlands. So they are the ones who developed that country. You see, those others came. They came into rulership, but the country was already developed. You see, unlike
So this rules out the issue of colonization.
right.
Yeah.
You know what? Those ones they were very clever. You know, they wrote books. That's why they will be like, no, Africans, they are very lazy. They don't want to read. They know the information, every information to destroy is in the books.
Obvious.
You see. So the more you read, the more you read,
know.
the more you know. And we are giving you false information, some of the true information about Africa. Some of them was destroyed. You see.
Okay.
If you go back,
By it being
wait.
destroyed, boss.
right? If
You're
you
not
go back to
answering the
the
question.
wait,
why
wait,
Africa is poor.
wait, I want to help you. So if we go back to the past,
Yeah.
they were better engineers. They were very good people who can do anything.
Okay.
See, I want to give you an example about Ethiopia.
Mhm.
Ethiopia is developing, and
Was it colonized?
it wasn't colonized
So
because they fought for themselves.
mhm.
You see, they fought
Okay.
for themselves, and now they are developing. And they are not even using the same calendar we are using. They are following their own count.
Mhm.
They have
But
their
they seem
own.
to be backward.
It's not, they're not backward.
Oh.
Right. According to the calendar wise, they are backward. You see,
Okay.
according to our own imagination. You see, as we see them, they are backward, but as for them, they are far ahead. You see,
Okay.
they are far ahead.
Okay.
So, as for Africans,
All right.
the most important thing is unit.
Okay.
If we have unit,
We're not talking of solutions.
yes,
We're
wait,
talking of why.
unit,
is
wait. For you to succeed, guys, unit is the vital
Okay.
solution.
Okay. Another issue also.
Right. Because unit,
Because you're dwelling on unity only. But
yes,
it's not only the factor.
unit is the only factor which can
be
help
the
us.
factor.
if I may,
Okay.
Okay. It's the only factor which can help us. Because if we don't have unity, we will not come to. We can't sit here and say something productive.
My
We
brother,
will not
you
unite.
can have unity, but if you don't have the mindset to go forward, you never go forward.
yeah, also, if I may also, I think I raised the point also if we're looking at why the development is developed. So I think if you look at the history, we know that before concept of capitalism, right? Before all that, we had what we call feudalism, right? I think most of you are aware of that. Feudalism, where we were saying that there's a lord of the land, that lord saves that land. And what you have to do is to just work on the land. You grow on the land, you die on the land. So that was the system that was running, I think, all across Europe. Because Europe didn't start as a developed country. It was also quite an average country that was also underdeveloped to some extent, right? But then at some point in their history, there were what you call critical junctures. Right? The critical juncture, I mean, these are situations in which a country can either go the right way or go the bad way. Right? Is a point in which a country has those two options, right? So that's what we call a critical juncture. So at some point in their government system, the of course the revolutions and everything, they come to embrace. I think also the issue of industrialization. Right? You see, industrialization began in Britain, and what industrialization did was it brought into action people that way had the mindset of maybe we're saying we are no longer tied to the land. We now have a work to do. You know, people have a more way in which they can unite through the workplaces, through going to work. We're now sitting in residential buildings that are grouped according to workplaces. You're now easy to coordinate, even if you want a rise in wages, right? So if you're to take it into fundamental sense, I think it is because of the institutions. I think institutions are the things that are critical for countries to develop. Let me explain what I mean by institutions, right? So for any country to develop, there should be innovation, right? And for innovation to be, there should be establishment that are able to act upon that innovation, right? For example, industrialization did not just start from nowhere. Someone had an idea to create those shuttles, those sewing machines. Yeah, that started the industrial revolution, right? So that innovation is one that is necessary. But then, if you innovate, right, we have the industrialization, we have modernization, of course, the advent of capitalism. We were saying the one with the best idea or the one with the best solution gets more money. So it's about giving incentive to solution, right? If you come out with a solution, you know that you are going to benefit from that solution. Right? That is the essence of capitalism, that you benefit from doing what you're good at doing, right? So I think also that issue, right, is the one of the things that helped the ancient Europe develop. Was they were saying innovation, right? It's also put in the context that this is the economic part, we have the political part. These two play a critical role in developing the country. The political part influences the economic part. The economic part is the one that deals with those economic incentives, giving someone property rights, it's giving someone a prize for their innovation, right? So what happens is, if in a capitalist society, right, you, as I said, you have an idea, that idea is rewarded. But then if you're not in a capitalist society, we're saying a society is a hierarchy. If you come out with an idea, and that idea ought to make you more money because it's a good idea. But then me, I'm at the top of the hierarchy. I'm near the top of the hierarchy. If I see that this person will have money equals influence, right? So if you have an idea at the bottom of innovation, in order for you to not make money and also have power, because if you make money from your innovation and have power, you'll be a threat to my political hierarchy. Right? You'll be a threat to the existing political structure. So the best way for the existing political structure to ensure that they don't have competition is to suppress that kind of economic part of saying, suppress that kind of innovative part of the system. There's no longer incentive for innovation. They suppress the property rights. You no longer own property. If you no longer own property, if there's no incentive for your innovation, then there's no need for you to do anything, even investment, because you can only invest if you trust in that investment to bring you profit in the future. You can only invest in the land if the land is to give you profits. But then if you're in a structure in which you invest in the land, and then from nowhere without notice, the existing government can say, no, this is no longer a land, we're going to take it. But the term is called expropriation. Right? The government can even say, this is your business, we're here to take your business. And you cannot say anything about that government taking over. So that kind of political organization, what's called extractive political organization, right? It suppresses innovation. Innovation is very critical for development of a country. That is why such ideas, maybe such as communism, fail. Because communism doesn't give enough incentive for you to develop anything. Because communism says you're a doctor, you're a teacher, you're a nurse, you get the same pay, right? If you're a doctor, you take 10 years to gain your certification. But then maybe, to take for example, a nurse takes about 3 years to achieve that qualification. If you are both earning 80 USD, then you don't have an incentive to say I work 10 years because you can just earn the same if you are doing 3 years. So that kind of lack of incentive is the one that is very critical for development. You need to make sure that the economic institutions of our establishment are able to identify those areas and also give room for those areas to prosper. Yes. So I think that's one of the things. Of course, there are plenty of other things, but I think I might go in for another hour. So I will, yeah. Oh, yes, continue afterwards.
Yeah, but this is look at the big before colonization. You know, South Africans were developing, but after colonization, even trade, it's not difficult for us to trade with other countries. Unlike that era. You see.
The way yakuramba uchidzosa colonization kasekuru ako akamwari kuonoka.
Guys, can I?
Another issue is saying that the colonizers are doing a good job. In another way, because they're saying
They did a good job, but on the other side, vakatouraya zvakanyanya.
how?
Because when I in the market antika, even which was up to like is to want something from Yante. What they want to know, this we want you to beat this thing, what you antika, then you give what to back what or something and but this is I'm sure
But I think when you're Ravana, when you're going into business, you're not the owner of the business. You're not the owner of the market. Let's say you have to follow the certain principles. Because one thing they knew is okay, cool, you're chasing us out. No problem. But as was you need to trade with us so that you process all your things and all that stuff. But if you really read the books, they say said you can do anything for yourself. But rather we're not looked into okay, if these people were to go away, how are we going to do 1, 2, 3?
As for me, wait, as for me, that's as it comes to the Indians, I always
Admire.
admire the Indians because you know they do everything. It's even their own language. See, education is in their own language.
It's not about language.
Wait, we were deceived.
Ah.
Just imagine learning physics in your own language. You see, you will know how to do some other things. You see, you start to know how to do this and to make this. But English, you know, those guys.
Ona,
Yeah,
as
also-
much as you're
wait.
admiring that,
Yeah, also,
you can't work on the global market. You still work at your national level.
Look at who Indians are right now.
yeah, also, there's a point that you raised about the system that was put in by the colonists. Right? If you put it, if you look at the colonization, right, you see that if you take, for example, maybe a country like Zimbabwe, right, the colonized were a minority, right, managing what the majority. So what the minority white people did, right, they put in institutions that benefited themselves at the same time extracting the black majority, right? So the institutions where the black majority is given a wage so low, only enough for them to keep on coming to work. At the same time, the white executive earning as much as possible, right? So those same institutions, as I said, our critical juncture is Zimbabwe was, of course, 1980. There were institutions that were there. I think, as I said also, that there's a benefit that comes with the suppressing majority. That is, if you are in such a political hierarchy, that if you suppress the majority, there are lesser chances of there being competition because less people are reaching out to challenge.
Look like
So-
like China is communism.
Yeah.
They are benefiting much.
Yeah. So also, if you are to inherit such institutions that were being run by the whites, of course the industries, everything. But then if you are to also to put in such institutions, and if you inherit those institutions, but then you don't do enough change to make sure that you engage people. Well, the idea is to have a feedback system, right? if take for example the member of parliament in your constituency, right? The beauty of democracy is that if the member of ideally the beauty of democracy is that if the member of parliament is there. Also, if I may say, democracy is one of the things also that are essential for the development of a country. I'm saying that if you have a member of parliament in an area, take for example, if that member of parliament gets in office and then the roads are not doing very well, the electricity is going out, we have that ability to say that in the next run of elections, you choose another person. And then when that another person comes into office, they know that if I don't perform well, I'll go out of office. So they have that incentive to perform for them to stay in office. That's one of the beauties of democracy. But then if you don't have that feedback system, if the person enters the office, the member of parliament enters office, then they know that no matter what they do, that person will never go out of office. Even if they underperform, that person will never go out of office. That is when we say now that system is now an executive system. The feedback of the masses is no longer being reflected. We're saying if you get in office as a member of parliament, this also, if you translate it even to the governments themselves, there are governments that dictatorial. That's why dictatorship does not work very well because it doesn't have that feedback system that is democracy. If a dictator gets in office, if you oppose that person, of course you'll be put in jail. Worst case scenario, you will die right. So end up even people that are underperforming in the administration of that dictator, they end up underperforming with impunity. They know that feedback system is saying if you're underperforming, people have the power to choose another person. And you also that's also the know of knowing that if I underperform, people choose another person, give the incentive to perform. So that's one of the critical things also of development of society. Having that pluralistic way of enacting decisions. Right? Was end of the day you ought to be accountable. There's no accountability, then the system fails.
Thank you, Mr. President, for you explaining.
I think he came well with stage.
But
That's
it's
You can see that one of my guys was he was
You are just
very
colonization. Colonization.
colonization.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to thank Mr. President for
joining us. We'll keep on calling you.
I will keep on calling you.
Yeah, if I may say, it was a pleasure actually. You have a very good setting, and I like the drinks. Also keep you refreshed. So I enjoyed it. I hope that I'll come again sometime in the future.
No problem. So guys, this is us. We will see you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and
Share.
Yes.
view.